Pumpkin spice latte, it's only been back at Starbucks for a day, but the chain is already looking at making bigger, broader changes. Now, the Wall Street Journal reporting that the coffee giant and CEO Howard Schultz are rethinking, quote, everything, including how to make frappuccinos. The company has come under significant pressure due to the unionization push, higher costs, and an inability to keep up with consumer demand. So far this year, the stock down just over 27%. Dave, it's a tough time maybe to be laying out some of these changes that the Wall Street Journal apparently reports that Starbucks is considering because of those higher prices, cutting into their profit margins. But a lot of this centered on how quick and how easily it is for a barista to make coffee. And the steps that they outlined in the Journal article really highlighted why it takes so long and why you're waiting sometimes 10 minutes for your cup of coffee.
They're not going to change the formula, so don't go messing with my caramel frappuccino. But yeah, the efficiency seems to be at the heart of these changes. And any news story, Howard Schultz has said they are going to design from scratch, from the ground up. So, you know, first when I read this story in the Journal, I thought, all right, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But then when you read the story, when you step back and think about the story of the day, which is Bed Bath & Beyond, too late to make the pivot, you really have to applaud Howard Schultz's leadership here because they are doing this from a position of strength, making those changes when things are good. You have to applaud the interim CEO right now because they're in a position where they can make these changes and not hurt themselves at all. They did find some numbers that said 1 out of 4 employees are planning to quit in the next 90 days. That is up from 1 in 10. So they really are trying to find ways to make these workers' lives easier. Of course, what those workers want is better conditions, more pay, and better perks. But this hopefully tinkers around the edges, Rochelle.
I mean, you have to think some of these stores that were designed about a decade ago, like some of the cafes they were saying that were supposed to be averaging 1,200 orders a day and now making 1,500 orders a day. In fact, they visited one East Coast cafe. At one point, they were averaging $1 million in annual sales. That's now $3 million they're bringing up, and still in that same space where they're having to run back and forth, but with so much more demand, especially ever since Starbucks really started focusing on the to-go aspect of its business when the pandemic came and people couldn't sit and relax. It was all about the to-go business. And then you think about the app as well. So clearly they have a lot of changes and they're trying to meet those consumer needs, as you mentioned there, Dave.